All right, we're joined in studio now with Chris Herren. And Chris, let's jump right into this. Unguarded, the documentary, aired on ESPN November 1st. What has that done to kind of catapult your story to the national spotlight? We read somewhere that your Twitter following has just blown up since that thing went on air.
It has. With the help of ESPN and Bill Simmons and the popularity of ESPN films, it's increased dramatically. But it's been an amazing experience how it's reached numerous amount of people out there struggling in the world of addiction.
You're a kid who grows up here in Fall River, Massachusetts. You go to Durfee High School. You're a star basketball player there. Then you go to BC, and then the ultimate dream, you get to play for the Boston Celtics. What's that like for a kid growing up in Massachusetts to play at all three of those levels here locally?
You know, I can appreciate it much more today than I did when I was actually in it. You know, you can never take that away from me. It's an accomplishment that will always be there. You know, I say all the time, the silver lining in the story of playing for the Boston Celtics is when I go and speak to either colleges or high schools, they tend to listen and kind of sit up in their seat that a former NBA basketball player is about to give them a presentation. So that's the beauty of it.
You're drafted in the second round by the Denver Nuggets. You go out there. You've got veterans like Antonio McDyess and Nick Van Exel, those guys on your team that kind of knew your story coming into this and said that they were going to take you under their wing and not let you go out and, you know, go drinking the night before a game or anything like that. They were going to keep you kind of in check. Then you get traded to the Boston Celtics. Looking back on that now, was that the best situation for you to get traded back home and kind of fall back into those situations and those problems?
No, it definitely wasn't. But, you know, it was a business decision made by the Denver Nuggets and the Boston Celtics, and that's where I ended up. And, you know, there's a silver lining in the story. And again, I'll touch on it again. It's the fact that, you know, I'm from this area, and if I can reach kids with my story and attached to my name, the Boston Celtics, to kind of raise awareness to the story, that's the benefit of it.
I think one of the most amazing things that people are talking about with this documentary and your story is, I mean, you're making your first start at the Fleet Center. You grew up here near the Boston area. And instead of worrying about starting, you're looking at the game clock and waiting for your OxyContin dealer to show up, and then you're out and you're watching fans enter the Fleet Center. You're in your warm-ups. Kind of take me through that. And I mean, that's obviously, you've hit rock bottom.
Sure. I mean, no, that's not rock bottom, but that's a perfectly normal thing for an addict to go through. I mean, when you're detoxing and withdrawing from opiates, especially the amount that I was ingesting on a daily basis, that's a perfectly normal thing to do. You know, to the average person, it's crazy. But when you're in that world, that's the things that happen. Rock bottom, that would be one of my good days, actually. If that was my rock bottom, I would have got through this pretty easy.
What was rock bottom? Can you give us an example of rock bottom?
You know, first of all, I hadn't jumped into heroin yet, and you know, that lifestyle is a very harsh lifestyle. You know, I believe that every day is a rock bottom in that lifestyle.
Obviously, this is one of the ultimate comeback stories, you know, out there. At what point did you get yourself back on track? Can you look back at it and kind of pinpoint that situation?
You know, I mean, I'm almost 3.5 years sober. I really frown on the word comeback. You know, because I don't believe. I don't want to be looked upon as a guy who the ultimate comeback story. I'm just a guy one day at a time, plugging along, and God willing, I can go for the rest of my life sober. But I'll just do it just for today. It's a daily thing, and it's a great life, and that I'm very appreciative for.
What do you want your legacy to be 10 years from now? What do you want to be remembered for?
You know, I was thinking the other day. I went in to speak to Durfee High School, and you know, there were 1,800 kids in this auditorium, and as I'm walking through the door and I see my banner up, I'm saying to myself, you know, what is the fairy tale to this story? Is it me coming back, a 10-year veteran Celtic basketball player, made $10 million, and they're going to put my number up in the rafters? Or is it me coming back, you know, sharing my experience with these kids? Because at the end of the day, you know, there's been one NBA basketball player from Durfee High School, but there's been a lot of drug addicts and alcoholics. So to me, the fairy tale is going back and raising awareness to these kids and telling them my story, and hopefully, getting out in front of them and stopping them from doing the same.
Are you working with any college athletes or any professional athletes right now about, kind of guiding them through the tough times that you had?
I would be there for anybody, whether they're a professional athlete or a guy homeless on the street. In the film, they show me walking into a prison system, and people said, like, how can you relate to those guys? They got tattoos on their faces. And I said, very simple. I mean, it's a universal language, the pain that a drug addict goes through, the emotional pain and the guilt and the shame. So I would help anyone at any time through this process. The response from athletes ever since this documentary came out has been great.
What are you doing now to kind of take your story nationally? Your schedule got a whole lot busier, I can imagine.
Sure. I just got back from LA. I did a couple of TV shows out in LA. I'm heading to New York tonight. But, just going out and speaking and getting the message out there to kids and waiting for that email to come to say, hey, thank you. And you stopped me in my tracks. And the book, and Unguarded, has done that. And if I don't sell another one, or Unguarded doesn't air another day, it's been a success.
If you have one message to tell the kids out there right now, what is that one message?
To be good to themselves, to take care of themselves, to love themselves, to believe in themselves, that they don't need a substance in their body to change. They're perfectly fine who they are.
He's Chris Herren. He's got an amazing story. Chris, we appreciate the time.
Thank you.